Now, it's interesting to me on a bunch of different levels. First of all, the language completely takes the focus away from what level of concern NBA teams might have had about any special treatment James and his business associates expected. Was this even an accurate observation? Had Jackson used the term his team, his crew, his guys, would anyone have said a word? I don't believe so, but he did. He said posse. Now, I've always wondered how James and his business associates, many of whom are his longtime friends, are viewed within the league, and this gives us a glimpse into that. And finally, why would Phil Jackson be casting aspersions about how any front office handles anything, given the total failure of his tenure as New York Knicks president, is beyond me. Yahoo's Adrian Wojnarowski went scorched earth on the topic, and it would be hard to argue any point that he makes. As for James and how he processed it all, he provided the answer today.
To use that label, and if you go and read the definition of what the word posse is, it's not what I've built over my career. It's not what I stand for. It's not what my family stands for. And I believe the only reason he used that word is to see young African Americans trying to make a difference. We see the success that we had, but then there's always someone that lets you know how far we still have to go as African Americans. You know, and I just don't believe that Phil Jackson would use that same term if he was doing business with someone else, you know, and you know, working with another team, or if he was working with anybody in sports that was owning the team that wasn't African American, that had a group of guys around him that he didn't agree with what they did. I don't think he would have called him a posse. I had nothing but respect for him as a coach, for what he was able to do. Obviously, at the helm of one of my favorite player of all time, MJ, and also been there growing up and watching with the Lakers, but I got nothing for him.
You said you had respect for him until...
Rachel Nichols, host of The Jump Afternoons on ESPN, joins us from Los Angeles. And Rachel, we've heard LeBron's comments. His associate Maverick Carter on Twitter said in part last night, every step you take, they remind you you're ghetto. It's clear that this struck a nerve in that camp. Why?
Yeah, I mean, look, the use of the word posse is something that both Maverick and LeBron talked about, but it was really the full quote, right? Phil Jackson was talking about how he thought LeBron wanted special treatment, and his example was that LeBron wanted to stay an extra night in Cleveland when he was with the Miami Heat so he could hang with his mom and his posse. The implication being that they were like a bunch of teenagers wanting to play video games on the couch. The specifics of that situation are so far off from that implication. We believe that Phil Jackson is talking about the one night that LeBron did ask for the team to stay in Cleveland. It was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, Scott. They were on a road trip. And if they hadn't stayed in Cleveland overnight and LeBron hadn't hosted the entire team at his house in Akron for a holiday meal, they would have instead had Thanksgiving in a conference room at a Toronto hotel. Not exactly behavior that screams of special treatment. And the men that he is talking about when he talks about, quote, his posse, these aren't guys sitting around eating popcorn and drinking. These are grown adults. Maverick Carter, a person that you see around LeBron a lot, he's in his 30s. He helms multiple successful media companies that have deals with companies like Warner Brothers, NBC, Turner. You've got Rich Paul, who's LeBron's agent and also an agent for many other players around the league at this point. He manages contracts and players in the hundreds of millions of dollars, including he's got the #1 draft pick this past year, Ben Simmons. So the idea that these guys would be dismissed or that they would be portrayed as hangers-on, it's not just a false narrative. It's condescending, and I think after so many years of hearing things like this, LeBron is sick of it. Remember, Phil Jackson, this is not the first time he's used this language, talking about LeBron James. He wrote a book about the 2004 Lakers season called The Last Season. He talks about a game that they played against LeBron and the Cavaliers. Talks about LeBron, who was 19 at the time, about how he thinks that he was developing into a good player, but then adds that he doesn't think it's healthy for players like that to be in the league that young without the age limit, and that he thought that their posses, to use his word again, who brought them girls and fetched their cars, was not a good environment. It was something that would do long-term damage to them. So that collective context is something that I think set LeBron and the people around him off, and there's a lot of people around the league who think they are very justified.
And I want to follow with just that point, Rachel. You know the league and its players very, very well. How reflective do you think LeBron and Maverick's feelings are about Phil among the rank and file and among the superstar players that you know so well?
Now, I think people know Phil Jackson's history, and you heard even Maverick Carter say, he put it on Twitter, he is not specifically calling Phil Jackson a racist. We know what Phil's political leanings are, and that he has been vocal over the years, for many, many years in this league, about racial equality. But even somebody who has that track record can talk about people in a way that makes them very uncomfortable and that is frankly inaccurate. And guys around the league know that. There's a lot of admiration among other players for LeBron James and the way he has empowered the men around him, the way he has promoted black-owned businesses, what he has done to set up his operation off the court. And I think there were a lot of heads who turned at what Phil Jackson said. Even on his own team, Carmelo Anthony said he was troubled by that. Now, he said that Phil, he doesn't think meant ill intent, but obviously it struck a nerve even with Carmelo, and you're talking about someone who's going to be across the table from these players when he wants another group of free agents over this next summer. I think guys are going to remember it.